Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over the top 25 wide receivers to play in week 11 of fantasy football. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button and the like button here. We are a brand new channel on the road to 200 subs. And once again, thank you so much for 100 subs. I appreciate every single one of you guys. But let's get into it here. The teams on bye this week are going to be the Dolphins, Buccaneers, Seahawks, and the Jaguars. So none of those receivers will be on this list. But first off here, we got to start it off with Stefon Diggs going against the Cleveland Browns. Browns gave up a crap load of points against the Dolphins. Stefon Diggs is one of the best receivers in the league. You're starting him no matter what. One of the best teams in the league, if not the best team in the league. You're feeling good about this matchup for sure. Number 2, Justin Jefferson absolutely killed me last week. 10 catches, 193 yards, and a touchdown. Bro, this guy might be the best receiver in fantasy football, but I just think Diggs has a little bit better of a matchup. Jefferson is going against the Dallas Cowboys, but we did see last week Christian Watson 3 touchdowns against the Cowboys, so he could be in for another big day. We'll just have to wait and see. Coming in at number 3 here and dropping down a tier because of the matchup is going to be Davante Adams. These past 2 weeks, Adams has been exactly what you expected when you drafted him. Last week, 9 catches, 126 yards against a pretty good Colts defense. They're just on the field too much, in my opinion, but he got a touchdown on 14 targets. Now, 17 targets and 14 targets the last 2 weeks. That's the consistency that I want to keep seeing with Adams, and I can keep putting him higher and higher on this list. I don't love the matchup this week. We'll have to see what happens. Derek Carr, I think, could struggle in this matchup because Denver's defense is pretty good. So that's the only thing I'm really worried about here. That's why I have him in A and not S tier. Coming in at number 4 here, we have Ceedee Lamb going against the Minnesota Vikings. Ceedee Lamb had an amazing game last week. 11 catches, 150 yards. 2 touchdowns on 15 targets. He looks like the man in Dallas with Dak back, and they look like they have more chemistry than ever. I'm feeling really good about this matchup, and I would definitely keep holding on to Ceedee Lamb if you have him. Do not trade this guy. He's going to be a stud and maybe a league winner at the end of this year. Next up, we have DeAndre Hopkins at number 5 against the San Francisco 49ers. Hopkins just proved to us last week with Colt McCoy at quarterback that he is indeed quarterback proof. He's getting a lot of targets in this offense. Not too crazy about the matchup, but I think he can get around it. He has the skill to do so, and I'd be comfortable starting him in this upcoming week for sure. Next up, coming in at number 6 here, we have AJ Brown, and dropping down a tier actually. He's playing the Indianapolis Colts. I just watched the Commanders-Eagles game on Monday night, and it was terrible. A terrible performance from AJ Brown. 1.7 points. Did not get involved in the offense at all. I expect a huge bounce back game for him here against a tough Indy defense. The game will be close in my opinion, and Jalen Hurts will have to throw the ball a lot more than normal. I expect a good day out of AJ Brown here. Next up, coming in at number 7 in the same tier is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown going against the New York Giants. I expect this to be a close matchup, but I do expect the Detroit Lions to be down in this game. Giants have a good defense. Amon-Ra does look like the guy in Detroit. He's going to get a lot of targets in this matchup. I would expect about 10 to 12 for him in a game that they're trailing, like I said. Come on. You got to play Amon-Ra. He looks like he's back, and hopefully he can win you some matchups in your league. Next up, we have T. Higgins, and I want to see more out of T. Higgins. Honestly, with Jamar Chase out of this lineup, I expect T. Higgins to step into the spot. It's not going to be a Joe Mixon show. This is a divisional matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers, so this will be a close game. They're not going to be able to run the ball 35 times with Joe Mixon. He's not going to score 5 touchdowns this time. It's going to be T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd that will have to step up. We'll talk about Boyd a little later on, but I think T. Higgins does step up, and he has a good game here. Next up and dropping down a tier, we have Deebo Samuel going against the Arizona Cardinals. And last week against the Chargers, I thought Deebo was going to have a good game. I was totally wrong. 7 points for him. Ayuke outscored him. But I do think this week he's going to be a little better. Arizona has a good pass rush defense, so they'll have to get the ball out quickly, and that's what Deebo does best, is run after the catch the ball near the line of scrimmage, run after the catch. I think he could be in for a better week. God, I'm hoping so, because you drafted him pretty early, and maybe this was just a get back into the field type of thing after the injury. Let's hope he's back this week against Arizona. Coming in at number 10, another guy that had a very piss poor performance, Amari Cooper, going against the Buffalo Bills. I expect a bounce back game here for Cooper. He had 3 total targets, 3 catches last week. Not the ideal situation you want to see from Amari Cooper. This situation definitely will get better when Watson comes back, but as of right now, I mean, you got to just hope for the best. Jefferson just torched this Buffalo defense. I don't think they're fully healthy. So Amari Cooper should have a pretty good game here. You can feel confident about starting him. Coming in at number 11, we have Brandon Ayuke in that same matchup as Debo against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Ayuke is a deep threat on this team, so I would expect a little bit less points than Debo. Like I said, Arizona has a good pass rush. If they can get past that San Francisco O-line that is really good, then they might not be able to chuck the ball deep to Ayuke. He's still going to get 6, 7, 8 targets, I would expect, and he's playing good, so I couldn't be benching Ayuke at this moment. Dropping down another tier here, we have Kadarius Tony on the Chiefs going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. And Tony should step into this wide receiver 1 role. I was talking about it in my last video. Juju went out with a concussion last week. I don't think he'll be back this week. If he is back, I'd lower my expectations for Tony, but I don't think he's going to play this next week. Tony, like I said, should step up into that wide receiver 1 slot, maybe get 8, 9 targets, and he's a very explosive player, so he should find the end zone in this matchup, and if he does, it's going to pay off handsomely for you, let me tell you right now. Coming in at number 13 here, we have Courtland Sutton against the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Raiders just cannot find a way to stop teams on defense, so it's now or never for Courtland Sutton. I'm not big on the player, not big on the team he's on, not big on Russell Wilson right now. I don't know what's going on in Denver, but it doesn't look good. Jerry Jeudy should be out. That's the only reason why he's up this high on my list. He should get about 15 fantasy points in PPR leagues for you. Hope to God he does. Like, geez, if he doesn't score in this matchup, I don't think he's scoring at all. So it's not going to be good if he has a bad game here against Las Vegas. Next up is going to be Tyler Boyd going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have been giving up so many points, although I think this will be a close scoring game. I don't know if it's going to be low scoring or high scoring. Either way, divisional matchup, so going to be close. Tyler Boyd has to step up into that wide receiver 2 role behind T. Higgins in this matchup, maybe in the slot a couple times, hopefully catches a deep touchdown for you. That's what you love to see out of Boyd when you start him. I think we see one this week. I really do. That's why I'm so confident in this play. Both of them, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, I would start both of them this week. Coming in at number 15 and dropping down another tier, we have Josh Palmer against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this is going to be a play if Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are out once again. I do like Josh Palmer for the volume that he's going to get in this matchup. Chiefs should be winning throughout the game, so I expect it to be high scoring like a usual Chiefs game. They got to come back, you know what I mean? They're not going to run the whole offense through Eckler, even though that man gets like 13, 14 targets out of the backfield. I still think Palmer finds about 10, 12 targets in this matchup. Does get you around 15 or so fantasy points if we're lucky. Coming in at number 16, we have Chris Olave against the Los Angeles Rams. Olave had a bad performance last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Knew that was going to be a low scoring matchup, but didn't expect Olave to struggle that much. I think he has a little bit of a bounce back week against a Rams defense that can't stop anybody at all. And he's really the only option in New Orleans catching passes, except Jarvis Landry did come back, proved to take a lot of targets away from him. I don't think that keeps up. I think Olave is a much better wide receiver, and he gets back on track this week. Next up is going to be Terry McLaurin going against the Houston Texans. Now, McLaurin had a great game against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night. I expect that to continue next week against a Houston defense that's not bad, but they're definitely not great by any means. They seem to give up a lot of points every single week. I think Taylor Heineke prefers McLaurin as his number 1 option. He's looking his way almost every single time, other than the casual, here and there Curtis Samuel throw. Terry McLaurin's still the guy in Washington, and I wouldn't feel bad about starting him this week against Houston. Coming in at number 18, we have Allen Lazard against the Tennessee Titans. Now, Christian Watson had those 3 touchdowns last week on about 6 targets, I believe. Allen Lazard had a very bad game. I do think he bounces back. Tennessee's defense is tough, but he will do better than last week. Trust me there. He had 7 points last week. He's going to get over 10 this week. I wouldn't necessarily hate starting him, but this offense is struggling. Could be a low scoring game. Just keep that in mind when you're putting him into your lineups. Number 19 here, we have Deontay Johnson against the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Steelers tend to play well against the Bengals in the past. I think that continues here. Johnson had another 10 targets last week. Didn't really do much with it. Turned in a 10-point fantasy performance in PPR leagues. You want to see him find the end zone one of these weeks. It's got to happen. Deontay, come on, man. I said to buy low on this guy. I think he has a favorable schedule for the rest of the year here coming up shortly. Don't hate the matchup, like I said. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I hope for the best for him, but as of right now, you're just hoping for the best. best. Coming in at number 20, we have Devonta Smith against the Indianapolis Colts. Like I said earlier, Colts have a pretty good defense. I think A.J. Brown is due for a comeback game after that shitty performance on Monday night. I'd expect Devonta Smith to take a back seat on this one. And yeah, I don't know. This will be a close game. Devonta Smith tends to play better in closer games when Jalen Hurts has to throw the ball more. I mean, it only makes sense. I think he ends this matchup with around 8 to 12 PPR fantasy points if we're being generous here. Next up, coming in at number 21, we have Rondell Moore against the San Francisco 49ers. You can't really hate what you're seeing out of Moore right now. Last 3 weeks in PPR leagues, 23.4, 14.9, 18.4, or last 3 weeks actually, he has been increasing his target share 8 to 10 to 13. And Colt McCoy was at quarterback this last week. I don't think we can take Rondell Moore out of our lineups. He's playing really good at the moment. Don't love the matchup. I think he takes a backseat to Hopkins, of course, in this matchup. But, I mean, if you got to play him at the flex, I'm not mad about it. I'm really not mad about it. Until he has a couple off weeks in a row, I think we ride the hot hand here and keep playing him. Next up at 22, we have Gabe Davis going against the Cleveland Browns. And I've said this multiple times in the past. I was a little worried about Gabe Davis. I said the 3 weeks against Minnesota, Cleveland, and Detroit need to be the weeks that you're starting this guy. He had 21.3 last week. Let's see if he can continue it against a struggling Cleveland defense. Just gave up a ton of points against the Dolphins. I mean, the week before that, they played really good against Cincinnati, so they're kind of on and off depending on the matchup, it seems. I expect Gabe Davis to have another good day here. 9 targets last week. He needs to find that mark again. 9, 10, 12 targets would be ideal, but you got Diggs in front of him, so I don't know. He's really a deep threat kind of guy. I wouldn't feel terrible about starting him in week 11, though. Coming in at number 23, we have Garrett Wilson going against the New England Patriots. Now, Wilson just played the Patriots 2 weeks ago, had 17 points in that fantasy matchup. And also last week before the bye, he had another 17 points. So that obviously means he's gaining some chemistry with Zach Wilson, and he knows how to get open. He knows how to get open against this defense. He just showed it 2 weeks ago, so why not play him again? Coming in at number 24, we have DJ Moore against the Baltimore Ravens, and this one should be quite the opposite of last Thursday against the Atlanta Falcons for the Panthers. They should not be leading this game. I would expect the Baltimore Ravens to boat race them to the finish. DJ Moore will get more targets than he has the last 2 weeks. It was raining the other night. I'm still surprised he only got 4 catches, but he's very inconsistent right now, so I cannot possibly put him up further than this. He's even more consistent than Gabe Davis, so what's that telling you? If you need to start DJ Moore, go ahead and do it, but I'm not feeling extremely confident. I'm not going to lie to you right now. And coming in at number 25, Michael Pittman Jr. against the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles just lost to the Commanders, and this is playing into my ranking right here heavily. I think it's a comeback game for the Eagles. There's no way I feel like they lose to the Colts. If they do, then I'm a fan of the worst team in the NFL. I cannot lie. The worst 8-2 team in the NFL if the Eagles lose this game. I don't think Pittman does well in this game at all. He's very close to the line of scrimmage when he gets his catches. Unless he gets about 12 to 15 targets, he's not going to have a good fantasy day. Trust me, I'm not feeling good about starting him, but I got to do it in a couple leagues. Hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully I come back and at the end of the week, I say I was wrong about Michael Pittman, but I just don't think that's going to happen. Anyways, guys, if you did enjoy this video or learned anything, hopefully it helps you in your week 11 matchups. If so, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.